Final startup presenting tonight is JustProtect by Vikas.
Thanks for still being here, first of all. We're a little bit late. Can you guys hear me at the back? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Vikas Bhatia. I'm the founder and CEO of JustProtect. JustProtect is a cybersecurity management platform that enables B2B startups to sell to regulated enterprises, fintechs to banks, for example. Just by way of background, I'm 18 years cybersecurity experience. For the last 5 years, I've been running my own cybersecurity consultancy. A bit of an uphill battle. Has anyone heard of the target breach that took place in 2014? Was anyone impacted by the target breach? A couple of hands. Okay. What Target did for the cybersecurity industry was it made the focus all about the third party. If anyone doesn't know, Target was actually breached because of a smaller HVAC vendor, heating, ventilation, air conditioning vendor, out of Pennsylvania. And that was the entry point into the Target network, and therefore into the POS systems that breached the credit cards. So why is that important? Well, it's important because the focus hadn't been on the third parties. Last year, Poneman, which is a market-leading researcher on data breaches, found that about 50% of organizations that were breached because of smaller vendors. On the other side of the house, 60% of those respondents said that they didn't have the resources to actually assess the smaller vendors that they were trying to do business with. Now, if you think about the startup culture, right, there's startups popping up everywhere. We've done some recent research across the startups that we actually work with and we consult, and these startups are actually managing 1 to 20 vendor risk questionnaires, which take approximately 2 to 20 days to complete. If you think about that for a second, this is an Excel-based questionnaire that takes a fairly long time to complete. What the larger vendors are looking for, or what the larger organizations are looking for, is a security program, which is a first-time assessment. They're looking for an education program, they're looking for remediation, and they're looking for ongoing assessments. Now, from a cost perspective, if you're a startup, that could range you anywhere from $45,000 to $415,000, depending on whether you worked with a firm like mine or you worked with the Big Four. And I'm ex-Big Four, by the way, so 8 years Deloitte. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the real solution is what I'm about to present to you. So we're currently in prototype. Actually, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this video. Sorry. Just when you thought.
Okay. Yeah, my video to you is the picture to me. Enjoy it.
Originally, we put together responses and weren't sure if they were comprehensive, if they had everything we needed. I would advise the smaller shops, you are going to get assessed. There is no doubt that if it's not you're selling to us, it will assess you. You're maybe going to want to sell to a bank, they'll definitely assess you.
I don't want to put together a security assessment or a vendor security questionnaire without having it reviewed by an expert.
I think we spent roughly about 1,600 hours last year answering assessments. That's not even doing assessments. Now that we've got it, it's much easier and we're much more confident. If I had the ability to do one assessment that I can then share out to 50 clients, it's going to cut down on my overhead greatly.
This is what I would say to Paul a year ago. Anyone working in fintech needs to think very, very seriously about security. Your job is to make sure that you are a good custodian of your customers' information and data, and so you owe it to yourself to have an expert help you through that process.
So what does that process look like? So we're currently, we actually just built the prototype, and like I said, we've been supplying these services as a consulting firm for a number of years now. So today, that's my boy's feet. Today, when a large organization wants to assess a smaller firm, it will send out a questionnaire that's Excel based. This is actually called a SIG Lite. So this is the light version of the questionnaire. And there's 121 questions. I've been in the industry for 18 years, and it takes me 4 days billable time to fill in one of these for my clients. Just put that out there. I have a good billable rate as well. So what are we doing here? So let me just work you through this example. So as a fintech CEO, when you receive this, so if you're a 25-person or less fintech organization, you can't afford the median salary of $280,000 it costs to hire someone like me. You're not going to do it. You're pretty much going to lie on your assessment. That will go to the big firms. And just as an FYI, I helped redesign the vendor selection process at the Federal Reserve in New York, so I'm fairly familiar with vendor risk and how the processes work. So the question around security policy, let's just focus on that. The first thing that most organizations will do when they receive that question is they'll go onto Google and they'll actually download a policy and they'll submit that. So here's what we're going to do instead. JustProtect, our CEO is called Sally, and Sally fills in some basic demographic information about her company, and then she tells us what industry her clients are in. What we're doing in the background is we're pulling all the regulatory controls that are associated with that industry and pre-populating the app. Then what are we doing? We need people, right? An organization's security policy is only as good as the people that manage it. If anyone's heard the term, you're only as strong as your weakest link. I guess Peter is not coming then. It's really about the people, right? People have been found to be the weakest link. So Sally adds her team members. She adds the roles for the teams. And then she gets some basic help. Let's set the context. We can do a risk assessment. We can assign roles, employee settings. This is all without my or my team's help. Okay, so that's great. And Sally has a dashboard. And the dashboard says, oh great, Alice just looked at the security policy. I wonder how that happened. But if we look at the security policy score, it's 25%. No one's going to fill in a vendor risk questionnaire when it's at 25%. So we press the Band-Aid button, and that gives us the remediation tip. And it says, Sally, Harry, and Bob haven't completed the security policy questions. So what do? Sally says, hey, Harry, you haven't answered the security policy question. Okay, great. Harry now logs in. Harry logs in, and he gets the obligatory, regulatory mandated management is brought into the security program video. Great. Harry gets his own dashboard. He gets to look at the policies, and he gets a compliance test. Can anyone take a guess at how long the average corporate employee spends on cybersecurity education, awareness, and training in 1 year?
1 day.
Less than an hour.
6 hours.
For anyone in regulated industries, particularly those in finance, you will spend approximately 4 hours a year, probably on the last day that you receive the mandated security training for anyone that's worked in corporate. So we've broken that right down, and we've equated that 1 minute every working day is the same as 4 hours. So what we do is we ask every employee one question a day. So how do we do that? Great, we ask Harry, where would you find the security policy? Harry is not the smartest tool in the box. So he says on Google. Okay, great. Well then what Harry sees is a training video.
Oops.
That's all right, it's pictures of my boy. I'm not embarrassed about it.
It's always a loaded gun.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least they were clean pictures,
Yeah.
right? Come on, you gotta give me that.
That's what I was thinking. Thank God.
The kid wasn't in the bath.
We get the idea.
There's a training video, right? The training video is 30 seconds. Great. Well, then what we're also doing is we're giving Harry some blurb, right, which is all assigned to the regulation. But then we also give him the option to view the security policy. Boom. There you go. Here's the security policy. Brilliant. Doesn't stop there. Harry needs to answer one question. And he needs to get the one question right. So he said, you know, how often does management review the policy? Annually. Well done, Harry. Great. So Harry says to Sally, hey Sally, I completed the test. Well, he decides to answer one more question, because why not, right? He had nothing else to do. So he gets his results, couple answered incorrectly, one incorrect, two correct, and so he says to Sally, Sally, hey, I'm done, I'm not answering anymore. Took him less than a minute. Sally then logs on, looks at her security dashboard, and she's looking at this 121 questionnaire, and she's like, how do I fill in the security policy question? Well, by pressing the assessment button, we give her the text to put into the questionnaire based off the security posture that her and her employees have filled in. So 2/3 of vendor risk assessments that are completed today are completed, particularly between Series A and Series C startups, are completed because they are imperative to close the deal. So what we're doing is we're actually building the MVP between now and the end of June. We are currently looking at investment. We've bootstrapped up until now. Certainly interested to talk to people, and I'm welcoming any questions.
So what are the economics? A company
sure.
doing a whole big hiring you would be $100,000 to do a policy. This is
45, David. And if you remember, we did the
Yes.
security policy for you guys.
Yes. I figured we got the discount.
Yeah.
So what would this cost for a Series A or
So we're looking at a per user model. It's a per user model that we're pricing at anywhere between $15 and $25 a user right now. Per user per month. Per user per month. So if you think about what we would charge today from a consulting perspective, to do an initial assessment, to do any remediation, average it out, to give an education program, and then to do a continual assessment is about $45,000 per annum.
So how much of your time is required? Is this totally automated, or do you have to review it, or do you add stuff in, and how does that work?
So what we're looking to do particularly for the B2B startups, so if you're talking about a Series A or a Series B, assuming that there's up to 75 people, it'll be 90% automated. We could offer premium support off the back of it just to make sure that people are happy with, they got the answer, we've reviewed it from a security perspective, and then they've completed it. But the people that you've seen on the video are actual clients of ours, and we've been running our models through these actual clients. We actually have advisors in vendor risk from Standard & Poor's, one of them is actually here, from BlackRock, from Davis & Polk, and they're actually validating our model at the back end. So what we're looking to do initially is to charge the Series A, Series B, Series A and B really, startups this platform so that they can present their startups to the enterprise. That will then shoehorn us into the enterprise, and it will open up our platform to allow them to assess the smaller vendors. The CISO at Davis Polk, Rich, he says that he spends 1,600 hours, his team spends 1,600 hours a year responding to.
So back up. So I'm a startup company.
Sure.
And I do this, and I pay $15 a month per employee. Okay, I can live with that.
Yep.
I'm in fintech, so
Yep.
we do something, and I've got 20, 30 employees. Fine. Now what? Now I'm working with a bank that wants what's our policy. So I click a button and I say,
You get your text. So what we're doing in the background is we're giving the bank the reassurance that the underlying frameworks that we're using are industry recognized.
So I've done this on my mobile device, everybody's done it.
Sure.
And now what, does this print out a policy at the end? Does this print out a form? Do I have to copy stuff onto, what?
So at the moment, for MVP stage, we're giving the text that can be copied and pasted into that questionnaire. That questionnaire that I showed you is an industry standard risk assessment questionnaire. And we give you the answer and the supporting evidence to fill in that questionnaire. At some point in the future, we'll obviously do system to system and be able to pre-populate those forms. We're still working out some nuances because there are some language nuances in the forms that are distributed. I've served 80 clients personally, so I've seen those nuances. So that's why we're offering the support in the back end. That will actually come out pretty good.
So is this a whole SaaS model and that's the business, or is there something on top of this or other things? Or
so there'll be a SaaS model for Series A, Series B, anyone up to 100, maybe 100, 150 employees. For anyone larger than that, we could do an implementation type service, a front-end consulting, make sure that it's integrated in. For obviously much larger clients, there may be extra consulting. With the videos, we've got stock videos made. Now, if the likes of a Citigroup wanted their own videos made, we could take their people and pull their own videos, and then customize the text.
From because we worked together a week ago on this. I thought your presentation, you presented the problem, and I think you presented the solution very well.
Thank you.
But you really have to get your tech together. You can't take it lightly with the kids like that. Take it very seriously. That you don't want that to distract from the fact that you have a very good product to sell.
Yeah.
And if you can't get this to work, then how do I know you can protect my security?
Sure.
Everything means everything.
If it's any consolation, I bought my own machine.
So I just want to throw that out there.
I mean, till now we're completely bootstrapped. There are some, when I say that I'm a one-man band, we're pulling together, and we've definitely not gone for the offshore development route because we know what it's going to be like. Because I've been that guy that's assessed the company going into large enterprise. So we're doing everything that we need to at this very early stage. So it's an opportunity cost. Sometimes I've got to, but I appreciate that.
One thing to think about
Yeah.
here, and often people say in my 17th iteration of this, I'm going to take over the entire world and so on and so forth. But one thing that you really should think about is that there are a bunch of other things for companies of the same size that are very similar tracking this. For example, HR policies and discrimination stuff, whatever, right? Which involve tracking people, showing videos, taking tests, doing, right? And so my first thought was, okay, if I were to do this here, it would be, I want to have a system for HR, and a system for gender policy, and a system for security, and a system for whatever it is. It'd be really nice if there was an integrated thing. Then I'm thinking, oh wait a minute, no, I'm sending you down a rat hole here. If you're not doing everything for everybody, it doesn't work either, right? So, but I think there are some happy medium in here.
But there are companies who do that training. Companies that are very good. There's one company based in Ireland that's here, and I'm drawing a blank on their name.
So the challenge with point in time assessments. The challenge with point in time assessments is that people forget. What we're doing here is we're doing a constant reminder. To your point, David, I've got documentation on this product that goes back to 2012. What I needed to do and what 2020 enabled me to do was really focus on getting traction and then being able to grow and then expand. I showed this to an advisor just last week, and he said, KYC, sanctions, AML, anti-money, sexual harassment, medical reps doing, doing drug recalls. There are so many cross-sell and upsell opportunities, but I think at this stage, what we're really looking for is that traction.
I absolutely agree with you on that, because especially for the fact that if you start going down that rabbit hole, you're going to stretch your tech so far that your brain's going to start.
I'm not suggesting it. I was just.
Oh, I know. We're brainstorming.
And I'm glad that we're thinking.
This is all brainstorming at this level. But what is also really awesome about that as well is that the ultimate goal, because you've got the tools and the actual tech behind it with JustProtect as you're going from there, is that you're going to have, like that company out of Ireland, the ones that are going to come to you, it's like, hey, we've heard about your model, we've heard what you're able to do, let's find a way to work together and build that and build those partnerships. Like
Right.
those revenue streams model then helps you go global
Yeah.
on that because they can also cover you with the regulatory issues across different continents and different countries. Like this is really interesting because it is mobile first, and for the fact of just how quickly mobile is going to everything on level, especially with cybersecurity. It's just such an interesting game.
But also because it's SaaS, and that means you have SaaS margins, which are very, very good, and it's scalable, which is very good. So for example, as you know, we have Gus launching new stuff we're doing with Gus. I can absolutely see when the product is more robust, see this as a part of a next level of something, or an add-in, or whatever. You know, it's not for the one person starting a company with no employees. But when you hit another level and you have employees, and then it ties in because it's back-end SaaS, the dashboard ties in and the APIs ties in, and it gets to be very interesting. So we should actually talk about that as you go to require that on the road.
Right.
I just want to add, like, you did a really good job, as was mentioned, talking about the problem and the solution. But there were certain aspects you missed. You kind of talked about the revenue model. I would love a lot more details about it. You did not talk about the team. It might just be you, but your credentials. There's certain information that every company, typical company, should kind of go through during their pitch. And it was great seeing your product live, but I think spending a little bit of time, even if it was the last 60 seconds, and kind of go over one or two of these aspects. Maybe not everything, what you're looking for, you're voting on something additional, would have kind of helped bake out like the full idea for me. I feel like I'm still missing a lot of information from you.
I'm happy to have a conversation. Because I knew I was going last. Right? I can show you more.
You wanted to show us the most videos.
I really wanted to show you, like, I have a kid, I'm doing this on top of my kid, and I've got a prototype that can go end to end. So
Get that, and the use of funds is also going to be key for it, but also like as you're identifying, like building the team, building the pieces of the puzzle to it, like I'd love to also understand, obviously you're one big fan from it, but it's like, obviously there are people that you would love to bring up on that level, so even touching the pieces a little bit within the presentation is great because it adds just it's the right cherry on top about the seriousness of this business, right?
Sure.
We can go down that rabbit hole about where it can go, but just the fact is like, at the end of it, who is really going to be, like, that's the exclamation point.
Sure.
So, great
Page
job.
of all your clients on it,